Mass Effect Andromeda, a game that trended for much of 2017, but for all the wrong reasons. It was supposed to be a crowning achievement in Bioware's unparalleled talent in storytelling and world building, and all bets in the game was that it'd be a surefire hit. After all, until that point, Bioware had mostly been on a high, void of having any flat-out failures. In 2012, Mass Effect 3, while the ending caused a huge stir in the gaming sphere, was for the most part an incredible achievement. With that game, Bioware had finally concluded story arcs spanning multiple games, created a truly one-of-a-kind combat experience, and had more emotion injected in its characters than many multi-million-dollar movies. Then in 2014, Bioware released their first game for next-gen consoles, and their first game on the Frostbite engine, Dragon Age Inquisition. The game was a hit with critics who praised the story, characters, graphics, and the open world, but there were some complaints of fetch quests and some downgrades from the leaked alpha to release. Overall though, it was a solid entry from Bioware, but Dragon Age has never been their heaviest hitter. That title was still held to Mass Effect.
Thank you for your patience, and sometimes thank you for your lack of patience. It's amazing for us as developers to see how excited you are for more Mass Effect. So tonight, at long last, here's your first look at Mass Effect Andromeda gameplay.
It's safe to say Mass Effect Andromeda was one of the most anticipated games leading up to its release. After all, the initial trailers that showed the alpha gameplay and the Andromeda Initiative videos that displayed the basic premise of the story painted a picture of an incredibly promising game, with beautiful graphics, amazing worlds, and unlimited potential. This was to be the game that made owning a next-gen console or upgrading your PC worth it. From the crowd's reaction alone during its initial reveal, it's easy to tell that many felt we were about to experience another gaming masterpiece, and gamers all over the world waited anxiously for this game's release. There was just no way that this game could be anything short of incredible.
Okay, I should just go over there to the piloting thing.
Kill me now.
Engineering update. We are working on accessing.
The more I played it, it doesn't even feel like a Bioware game. It's weird. I like the combat, but I don't like the characters, at least in those first 2 hours, and I don't like the writing.
However, once the game was finally out and in gamers' hands, it didn't just face mediocre criticism from journalists and anger from fans on review websites, it was universally destroyed by YouTubers from all aspects of the internet. And as we all know, negativity sells, and with the current trend of big YouTubers covering any gaming news that involves bad info, this was a goldmine for them, and it wasn't long before anyone and everyone knew how much of a failure Andromeda was. The game wasn't innocent though, and it was easy to see why it was panned by so many, with weak dialogue where every line comes off as a joke.
Commander of this encampment, you're welcome here as an ally of the Angara.
I appreciate the warm welcome. It's a joke. To break the ice? Get it? Warm welcome? Ice?
Kill me now.
Terrible animation.
Now I've bested you, Morta, and Clan Nakmor will pay with blood.
You put the colony at risk?
A plot that was almost the exact same as Mass Effect 1, with an ancient civilization and race leaving behind ruins, a new enemy indoctrinating people, and every species breaking off into their own colonies, instead of feeling like a united force. All these negatives had made the game a bad Mass Effect game, but not necessarily a bad game. The graphics are still insane, even though the game is 2 years old. Every second is gorgeous. Walking around on planets, exploring the Tempest, looking outside the windows at the galaxy, it's all profoundly beautiful. The game's soundtrack, while not as good as the others in the series, was still a decent entry, with fitting tunes for exploring an unknown galaxy and entering the atmosphere of a new planet for the first time. The sound design in this game was also some of the best seen in the industry, which is fitting considering the gameplay is one of the most fun ever created. The original Mass Effect trilogy never found its stride in combat until Mass Effect 3, and here that gameplay was improved upon tenfold. The biotic abilities in this game would give Star Wars a run for its money, and put games like Destiny to shame. In Destiny, you're supposed to be a space wizard with special abilities and a legendary arsenal. And here in Andromeda, there's a mind-numbing amount of abilities and powers to mix and match whenever you want, allowing you to create your own personal playstyle and switch on the fly between multiple setups, respec your skill points at any time, upgrade and craft unique and powerful weaponry, and even customize your armor exactly how you want it. If you're a gamer that says gameplay is the most important part of a game, then this game is a home run. During my time with the story and dialogue, I was miserable, but I loved every second I spent fighting, as well as completing every side mission and question mark on the map. In the Far Cry games and The Witcher 3, one aspect most people get addicted to is 100% completing the map of activities to do. While here it's not as good as The Witcher 3, clearing the 5 planets in Andromeda and bringing their viability to 100% was something that hooked me from the first hour to the 100th hour. It gave you a chance to gain lots of extra experience points, as well as help out people in need, and bring your colony establishments to full fruition. So with all of my praising I've just done, I think you can see why I consider it a game of two halves. One heavily flawed, and one extremely well crafted. And this is why I still think the game deserves a redo, as the basic premise of the story truly had unlimited potential. In Mass Effect Andromeda, the basic premise is that a streamlined version of the Citadel called the Nexus, and several arcs consisting of 20,000 of the best and brightest of every species, are making a faster-than-light voyage to the Andromeda Galaxy that will take roughly 600 years. Therefore, everyone will be in Kryval till their arrival in the Helios Cluster, where the Nexus will finish construction, and the colonists will begin exploring 7 golden worlds that should be able to sustain life. Until the golden worlds are deemed habitable and have establishments built on them, everyone will live on the Nexus, which will serve as a home and a melting pot for all species, including an archived cultural center for new species to learn about the Milky Way galaxy, lush and relaxing gardens for a quiet escape, clubs for social mixing, an operations center and Pathfinder HQ to oversee the colonization mission, state-of-the-art science centers to learn and research new technology, as well as new encountered species. This trailer was one of the earliest trailers for Andromeda, but for me and thousands of others, this was the most captivating, most intriguing, and most Mass Effect trailer. I absolutely love this premise, as it really opened a lot of creative doors, but instead of going through the openings, Bioware had chosen to ignore them and continue down the linear hallway. Examples of these missteps include not capitalizing on the emotion of leaving everything behind for another galaxy, having the mission be a disaster and start off with everyone in chaos, one sibling remained in cryosleep due to a mishap, your dad dying the first hour despite being the chosen Pathfinder, all species going separate paths instead of working together, meeting only one new alien race, and lastly, not being able to truly be a Pathfinder. So here's how they could have fixed these mistakes, and these are just simple ideas of mine that would have significantly changed the game. The first major change I would have made is using the emotional power and weight of 20,000 people being chosen of each species for their talents and abilities to embark on the Andromeda voyage. This could have been the introduction of the game, where you play as a father figure and get to say goodbye to friends and family, and depending on how you want to shape your character, you can lie and tell people they'll get to come along on the voyage as well, or be brutally honest and tell them that there simply isn't enough space. And then these choices made would then be remembered by the people going to Andromeda, so they know what kind of leader you are. The idea of a journey being made to try and save a galaxy's worth of life in case of losing to the impending doom is amazing and could have really been used to tug at players' heartstrings, as parents, children, friends, and comrades are separated from each other based on a complex algorithm of who can best make a difference in Andromeda. Then once you arrive in the Helios Cluster, the mission is successful instead of the chaotic arrival seen in the game. And once you are awakened from cryosleep, you would then see video documentaries of those who had to stay behind, either wishing you good luck or cursing you for leaving them, similar to what was shown in Interstellar. The next massive change I would have made is not having the father die early in the game. Instead, you would play as him for about half the game and get to customize his look how you want. This way, you get to be the Pathfinder that everyone had already accepted and chosen as the best individual of their species. Then halfway through the game, he would die, and you would either play as the son or the daughter. This could lead to a lot of interesting and complex dialogue between each sibling based on who is chosen, as the one not chosen could be envious or jealous, and everyone else could then also have thoughts about whether or not you really should be the Pathfinder, since you haven't proven yourself and are simply just the child of the previous one. The game already did this more or less, but this element should have been doubled down on and happened as a surprise to players. This would also allow you to now start playing opposite or similar to how you played during your time as a father, and then other people could then comment on how you are similar or different to him, and whether or not if that's a bad or good attribute. I think it would have also greatly benefited the game to have the mission be a success. That way everyone is working together as one cohesive unit, despite the racial, sex, gender, or species difference that may exist between people. Everyone loves a tale of people or groups coming together as one and putting aside their differences and quarrels to focus on one common objective. At the time of Andromeda's release in 2017, it had been 5 years since players had already solved the issues that existed between species and rallied the galaxy together back in the original Mass Effect trilogy. Yes, I understand that Mass Effect Andromeda takes place before the Reaper invasion, but by making it seem like different species once again are trying to go off solo and set up their own colonies, it made us the players feel too much like we were redoing tasks we had done 5 years earlier. Instead, the game should have made the issues and quarrels that existed take place between the Milky Way species and the Andromeda species, as those barriers would truly be ones worth solving and fixing. My last and final change is one I think was the largest missed opportunity, and if it had been done right, would have made this a game that every single player fan, space fan, and RPG fan would want to try, and that is being an actual Pathfinder. 4 out of the 5 arcs have one of these special individuals, and the Quarian arc has several since multiple races are aboard that arc. Now if you haven't played the game, you may be wondering what a Pathfinder is. Well, a Pathfinder is supposed to be a blend of an elite soldier, scientist, leader, ambassador, and hope all in one. Basically, you play as a single best individual per species, similar to Commander Shepard. Now in the game, this title doesn't mean much other than being their errand boy, to complete even the most mundane task, such as gathering materials to craft your own equipment. What I think Bioware should have done here is make us the player be the bridge between the new galaxy and everyone else. We should have been in charge of helping out scientists figure out which worlds to colonize, deciding how to best combat in extreme environmental conditions, how to deal with friendly and dangerous wildlife, which species to house and colonize on what planets, and of course, figure out which new intelligent life would be friends or foes. We would then have to figure out how to best speak to them due to a language barrier, and figure out how to make our intentions known due to appearing as threatening newcomers, and decide if we wanted to spend extra time finding diplomatic solutions to these problems, and peacefully integrate ourselves into their territory as we help them out with their own issues, or instead, decide to take over the Helios cluster by sheer brute force and violence. Moreover, due to just how incredibly powerful our character is in the game, with biotic abilities and more, it would have been a nice touch if when fighting groups of exiles, that after killing a couple, the rest surrender and it's up to you whether to kill them or accept them back into your colony. Then maybe later on down the line, these people you saved would tell you how they appreciate you sparing them, and they would either become important members in the new society, or instead cause issues. Also, it would have been nice to upgrade Pathfinder abilities, such as calling in backup squads from troop transports to come and help you during large battles, have a scientist give you his opinion and perspective when on the ground researching new materials, decide whether to set up small outposts, and much more. These are just some of the many gameplay and narrative options I wanted and expected from Mass Effect Andromeda, and why I think the game still deserves a redo to fully realize its potential. In 2019, it's very much the time of video game revivals, where games have been given second chances and turned their perception and direction around. Rainbow Six Siege, Destiny 2, and No Man's Sky are just a couple of examples. These games were also all blasted at launch, but allowed the ability and time to change. Mass Effect Andromeda, on the other hand, had its DLC cancelled, its sequel terminated, the IP put on ice, and the developer was even shut down, with employees being sent to other studios. We were told this move was okay because we would see the sacrifice was worth it for Anthem, and we all know by now how that turned out. I know still though that many people think of Andromeda as a complete failure. But when you look at the budget they had, the awful development hell it suffered, engine changes, senior staff leaving, and so much more, it's amazing that we even got a game. And when you take a step back and see everything the game did right, I think I can confidently say that Andromeda, and Mass Effect in general, deserve much better, and that this game warranted a revival, similar to No Man's Sky, or a remake on par with Final Fantasy: A Realm Reborn. Bioware and EA, you need to take another look at what you have here, and either give Andromeda what it deserves, or let another passionate studio with creative potential attempt a proper Mass Effect game. Well, that wraps up this video on why I think Mass Effect Andromeda deserves a No Man's Sky treatment and a second chance. So let me know in the comments down below what you think of everything I've said and discussed, and let me know if you agree or disagree. If you would like to contact me about anything Mass Effect related or otherwise, as well as stay up to date on my videos, then go follow my Twitter account linked below. And if you want awesome perks such as behind the scenes of my videos, involvement in the creation progress, mentions in the credits such as seen here, and much more, then go and check out my Patreon below and find a tier that fits you best. With that said, let's chat down in the comments, and if you like this video and you want to see more like it, be sure to leave a like, share the video, and hit that subscribe button. And I'll see you all on the next Shepherd Gaming video. Keyless Ally.